Broncos and Parts Garage. My name's Chris. Now that's one hell of an entrance. Lately, you've seen us post quite a few videos on our 1995 supercharged Ford Bronco. Go that way a little bit, you're gonna hit something. We posted quite a few videos. We're doing a lift kit on it now. You've seen us peel out. You've seen the front bumper shake. We've done a lot of stuff. We put a subwoofer in the back. We've taken videos of the windows flexing and moving all about. Today we're doing something a little bit different. A real quick video. The steering column is blown out to pieces. You can actually wiggle that steering wheel. It's terrible. Instead of taking it apart, we're simply gonna swap out. As you guys know, I part out tons of these vehicles. I've got stacks of steering columns for sale. All of my contact information is in the video description, so you just gotta click on the title. It'll say more, click it again. It'll drop down, you can get a hold of me that way if you need a steering column, if you don't wanna go in there and change out all the bearings. Let's take a look at the steering wheel we have right now.
There's something there.
Sure, watch yourself. As you can see, this one's really blown out. So we're gonna take this apart. We're gonna drop it down. We're gonna show you exactly how to just swap one of these out. I think it's probably quicker and easier than actually going in there and changing the bearings. Let's get some tools and get started. The first thing you'll wanna do, and you always wanna do this when you're dealing with any type of electrical components in the truck, is disconnect your negative battery terminal. You don't want this vehicle energized, especially when you're working around the airbag. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses, do your due diligence, and just be safe. Let's get started. The first thing you want to do is remove your fuse panel or your knee panel. 2 7mm screws hold it in. Sometimes in the middle of those screws is a T20 Torx bit. We just find that using a 7mm is a lot quicker. Let's take these out. We already took this side out. We're going to do the other side right now. Go ahead, Christian. All right, now on the very top, there's 2 clips. You want to pull this straight out. Because the bezel's still in, we're going to have to pull a little bit on an angle down, but it still will pop right out. Let's lower that down. There you go. And we'll set this aside. This steering column has kind of been in a repair flux, hence the column shroud is unscrewed on this side. We're going to take this completely off right now though, and we'll show you how to do that. As I said earlier, this column has been under a little bit of duress. 3 of the screws on the other side of the cover have already been removed. We removed one on this side. To drop the bottom half of your shroud or column cover, you need to take out your tilt lever. Once the tilt lever is out, this will drop out. If you want to take this off without destroying it, you can use an open-end wrench. I'm not sure, I don't remember the size. Or wrap this plastic with a towel and grab it with some channel locks. You just don't want to gall up your lever. We'll set this to the side. We'll pull the shroud out. To get the top of the shroud out, we're going to need to pull the lock cylinder, and I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. Okay, so we're under the column right now. Christian's got that little tiny screwdriver pointed at that pin. You're going to apply a little bit of pressure to that. Go ahead. You're going to turn the key in the on position and pop, and this is just going to slide right out. As you can see, just like this. We're going to set this to the side. The next thing you want to do is disconnect your shift arm indicator cable. That's right here, this little wheel. That's how you adjust your cable. So when you move your shift arm, it shows the needle moving from, through your gears, first, second, drive, neutral, reverse. What we're going to do right now is just loosen this a little bit by spinning this. It'll take some tension off a wire that's going up to an eyelet. I'm going to remove that right now. Probably do it kind of off camera, and then I'm going to grab a column and I'm going to show you exactly what we did. So let me get this off here right now. Okay, I was able to get this cable off the eyelet, and I'm going to show you guys in a second what I was trying to get off. But right now I'm going to finish taking this bolt out, that 5.5mm. That way we can disconnect the steering column from the instrument cluster. So that's going to hang right there, and eventually we're going to snake this up through these wiring harnesses and out of the way, but we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it sit here for right now, and I'm going to go show you what I just disconnected. This is the cable loop I was talking about. Here, back up a little bit, I'll show you. So when you move your shifter arm, you're pulling this cable. As you can see, your indicator goes back and forth. This is the eyelet I was taking that off of, and I'll pop this one on right now. It goes on like that. Some of them are tight, some of them aren't that tight, but it's just a matter of getting your finger up there, getting it off that eyelet. So we've mechanically separated your instrument cluster from the steering column. So we'll set this aside for right now. That was just for educational purposes. Next thing we're gonna do is remove the top cover. After we remove the top cover, we're gonna go in and remove this multifunction switch. We need to get this out of there to get the harnesses disconnected. So it's gonna take, I believe, a T20 or T25 Torx bit to remove the multifunction switch. Then we're gonna come in here, and I believe that's a, man, I can't remember, it's an 8 or, I think an 8mm. And we're gonna pull off these harness covers, and we're gonna unplug all the harnesses from the multi-switch all the way down to the bottom of the steering column. So let's get to that right now. We spent a few minutes getting rid of some of the wires that someone had installed in here. There was a microphone in the headliner. There was a few ground and power wires for the CB radio. Right now, we're gonna use a 7mm and disconnect the harness, I guess, capture bracket, or the bracket that holds the harness in place with a 7mm. Go ahead and zing that one out right now, Christian. Before we drop the column, we're gonna disconnect this 13mm bolt. This is actually one of the universal joints down at the bottom of the column. We're gonna get to it now before we drop the column down. You gotta take the bolt completely out because there's a concave section in the shaft that captures the bolt. So let's take that out now. All right, you're gonna put that aside and save that bolt. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna remove the 4 13mm bolts that hold the column to the this inner cross member. Go ahead and point them out, Christian. There's one there. There's one exactly across. There's one here, and there's one right up in here. We're gonna pull those out right now. And you want to save this hardware.
Keep in mind, guys, I'm not pulling these all the way out so it doesn't drop and fall on my head.
Okay, now we're gonna slowly let the column come down and rest on the seat. The only thing that's gonna be supporting the column right now will be the harness and the shift indicator, or excuse me, the shift arm mechanism at the bottom of the steering column. And I'm gonna go show you exactly what we're gonna do right now to the column on one out of the truck, because I'll never be able to show you underneath this dash. Okay, so I had misspoke earlier. I said shift arm. It's really the shift cable. First thing you want to do is get a pry tool and just pry this off. It's pretty simple. Just a ball and socket. This is a fixed position. As you shift gears, that moves back and forth, and it changes your transmission. The next thing you got to do underneath the dash is get this whole mechanism off of this bracket. Now, if you look right here, there's a piece of plastic. Inside there, on this side, you can see the plastic, a little pin goes right in there. So it's just a matter of prying this out gently. And once you have that out of the way, then you can move this whole shift, this arm, back up a little bit. You can get the whole shift arm out. And it's not that easy, because it's in there, it's designed to be in there, so it doesn't fall apart. But this little safety pin is what keeps that in there. So I'm gonna pry on this a little bit. Once I've got that out, I've got it kind of bent out now. I'm actually gonna put the small screwdriver in here to hold it. Just like that. And that's just a matter of getting this out. And as you can see, that slides out. That's what you have to do underneath the dash, and that's why we can't show it to you. So when you put it back in, it's a matter of lining this up, sliding that back, and that little detent will go back in there, locking it in. Then you're gonna actually redo this with your new column. So that's how that goes. It's gonna be hard to film underneath there, so we're not gonna do it. I just wanted to show you what is happening under there. Also a tip, when you have the column out, tighten up all of these. I believe they're T25 or maybe T30. Tighten up all these gold or zinc screws. When these come loose, if you've ever noticed when you put it in drive or shift or neutral, and you can't adjust your indicator dial anymore, and it's sloppy, it doesn't line up, it's usually because these screws have come loose. So tighten up all of these zinc-coated Torx bits on the bottom of your steering column. Before we mess with the shift cable, we are going to take off the multi-switch here, because you can't take off these harnesses without removing the switch because all the metal, this pot metal, is in the way. So I believe it's a T20. We're going to remove this. We're going to take these two switches off. We'll do that now. Then we're going to get all these harnesses disconnected from the column. So let me get some tools and we'll get on that. All right, you want to save these screws. Now that you've got the multi-switch off, you can remove those harnesses. We're gonna do that off camera. As you can see, one of those is already busted, so be really careful with these. The good news is, once it's installed, they really don't back themselves out. We're gonna take these off camera. Once you've got the multi-switch out of the way, you wanna disconnect your overdrive button, and you just wanna pull this harness apart. Now we're gonna get this final plug out right here, and it's a 7mm. I've got it loosened up. I should be able to do most of it with my fingers here. And I believe the bolt stays captured in this plug cover, so you don't have to worry about losing this one.
Correct.
If you guys aren't familiar with my other video, I did one where we adjusted the shifter arm. They get kind of floppy. If you search my videos, you'll see where I did that. It's a pretty comprehensive video, getting that shifter arm really tight. We put new bushings in the tube, and then we shimmed up the actual area where the shifter arm mounts in the body of the steering column. So check that out if you get a chance. I think that one's all the way out. So we'll pull this out. And we want to just get that out right here. This wire right here isn't part of the vehicle. It's actually a microphone that someone wired up in the visor. So we just got to make sure we don't get that tangled up. And it looks like it's through this harness, so we're going to leave it alone. Next thing you want to do is start disconnecting some of these other harnesses underneath here. This is your ignition. Not sure what this one is, but we got to disconnect it anyway. And we've got this disconnected up here. And there's one more harness in the back here we're going to get rid of, or disconnect, excuse me, right there. So basically, if you can't see what I'm doing, just get these harnesses disconnected so you can actually get the column out. Anything connected to it, don't cut anything. Be careful, like I always say, it's very brittle plastic. This microphone wire I'm not too concerned about because I don't really use the Bluetooth in here. Right now, the next step will be disconnecting that shifter cable in the back. I showed you how to do that. So we're gonna turn the camera off. When we come back, we'll be getting ready to install this. We're getting ready to put the steering column back in. Again, we're not gonna be able to show you us connecting right here, but it should be pretty easy now that the column is out, because when you slide this onto the bracket on your steering column, it should go in fairly easily. And obviously the ball and socket goes on really easy. I'll do my best to show you putting the bottom of the steering shaft back into this universal joint. And you want to make sure you get that 13mm all the way in there and all the way tight. So let's get that going right now. Okay, we got that reattached in the back. Now we're going to gently install it loosely with the 4 13mm bolts, and then we're going to connect the universal joint in the back. So we'll do that right now. We've got the column partially installed. Normally I'd just say, hey, just do everything in reverse, but we are going to show you what to do here. First thing we're going to do is reattach the harness to our multifunction switch and get it reinstalled. We'll do that on camera. Then we're going to reinstall our main harness and all the other plugs underneath the column. The ones we can get easily on camera we'll do. The ones we don't, you'll have to do on your own. Obviously you took them apart. Don't forget to reinstall your overdrive harness, which I think we already showed. Then we're going to put the top on the cover and get it all buttoned in. Tighten up the bolts on the column, holding it up, and then get the shaft on the bottom reinstalled into the universal joint in the bottom. So we'll get to that right now.
Just like that. Let's see. You're gonna have to feed that up through here.
Make sure those wires aren't binding on anything either. Now, you guys can't see this, so I'm going to do this off camera, but he's going to take those T20 Torx and screw the 2 screws back in and fasten that in. We'll be right back. Okay, we're going to reattach the main harness. So we're just going to get it plugged in here. I'm going to push it in, and you can see this is energizing. It really shouldn't be. There we go. I ungrounded the switch. We haven't put the ignition back in, so this one, we're going to just run this 7 in, and make sure I got that started.
Well, Chris kept playing too many games, so I had to let him go. So we'll think about bringing him back in maybe a couple episodes. But so we're gonna finish putting this back together now. Let me just get it all situated. So you got your signals hooked up. You got that all hooked up. Now you just gotta take this. Well, put that back on just like so. And sometimes when you gotta put the bolt back in, they don't always want to go in, but that one went in pretty dang good. And make sure you torque that down to spec. You don't want that coming apart, because then you have no steering. Alright, once you guys get that steering shaft hooked back up, you're gonna want to hook your shift indicator back up. I'll see if I can get this up in here for you guys. It's kind of hard to see. Now keep in mind, you might have to do a little bit of an adjustment on that to get it right back to where you need it to be. Take the 5.5. And I'm going to tighten that up off camera. Alright, once you guys get the shift indicator hooked back up, installed, you want to put this top cover back on before you fully tighten up your bolts down, your nuts down there to hold the column in. It's kind of a tight fit, but you definitely don't want to do that, tighten them nuts until after you do this, because it'll never go back in. And then once you do that, you take the ignition. That's always kind of fun to get in. That actually went in really nice. Alright guys, the next step you're going to want to do is get up in here, tighten up these 413s. Alright, now you can go ahead and put that bottom cover back on with your 4 screws that hold that in. Alright, and there you go, it's all back on. One more thing guys, don't forget to put your column tilt lever back in, and you can use an open end wrench on that, or just put a wrap a rag around it and grab it with some channel locks. That's usually what I do. Just, you don't got to go super tight, just snug.
It's a very simple swap. It's very easy to do, and I appreciate you guys all sticking around this long in the video. Take your time. We had some wiring issues with some speakers and other stuff we had to take care of. We also had to put the airbag in. I don't even sell them with the airbags, and I don't like having them in the shop. You see in Eastern Europe on YouTube, the guys blowing each other through the ceiling and probably killing or maiming those people, right? Oh, yeah. A lot of videos on that. So we don't mess around with them in here. It's a simple swap. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Please don't forget to like, subscribe. You have anything to add, Christian?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm out, y'all.
We'll see you next time.